Okay, so we've talked about this the other day on the podcast and some other episodes I've done for some other horror stuff. Vampires are coming back, and Netflix is the latest one to give us a vampire movie, which stars Jamie Foxx as well as Dave Franco. And this one is very much so on the comedy side of things than the horror, but it's still nonetheless a pretty good one to check out. So if you haven't already checked that out, go check it out on Netflix before you watch this video, because this one, of course, as you see from the title, all spoilers. You don't want it spoiled, don't watch this video. But if you've watched it, make sure you check it out. Subscribe below for more videos on all things you love, and hit that notification bell. Let's get into it. So Bud is basically a vampire hunter who makes money off of selling the teeth of the vampire they slay. And pretty much what happens here is he has to come up with a way to make a ton more money he's already making, because the prices are going up, and his daughter is private school, all of that, and his ex-wife is pretty much like, hey, if you don't make enough money to do all of this, we're gonna have to go to Florida and leave LA, and that's that. So he decides to pick up some shifts and all of that, gets the day shift, which if you're a vampire hunter, of course the day shift's going to be the slowest one and not the one that's going to make you the most money. He eventually has to also have a union person follow him along, because he's been known to sort of like not really follow the rules of the union, but he was given another chance thanks to his friend, who is played by Snoop. Now, while they are out vampire hunting with this guy who is played by Dave Franco, Seth, they realize that there's something else going on here with these vampires, something new, something different they hadn't really seen. There's these vampires that are using this super sunscreen that allows them to go out into the day, but there's something else afoot here. Well, it turns out that they are completely right, because there is a vampire realtor going around turning as many people as they can into vampires, because they feel the vampire population is going down and very low. Eventually, Seth and Heather, who is actually Bud's neighbor, get turned into a vampire. And so this leads into a whole thing. But one of the things that happens is they are turned into vampires, but they don't turn bad or turn on Bud. They're actually going to help him take down Audrey. And so they devise a plan to get into Audrey's lair. But when things are seeming bleak and they are about to go downhill, however, as they are attempting to do all of this, Snoop comes in and saves the day with guns a-blazing, heavy artillery all the way, and he decides to sacrifice himself, as we see himself like just say like, go on without me. Classic, right? So now that we think that Snoop is gone and we see Bud and Audrey facing off, however, Bud is eventually out of bullets, and so this leads us to believe that's it, it's over for Bud. And as we see Audrey charge towards them, we see heads rolling. And what has happened here is that Bud actually put up a wire, all of that, that makes sure that as soon as she hit that, slice and dice, and she was out of here. So now we see that they have saved the day. Seth decides to quit the union and become sort of a partner for Bud, taking down the vampires. And we see that Bud has reunited with his ex-wife as well, because the whole reason for them going into Audrey's lair was to save his ex-wife and his daughter, who had been taken by Audrey, because Audrey had been pissed at Bud because Bud at the beginning had actually killed her daughter, and that's pretty much the whole thing that she was after right here. And now we see them reunited, and they are able to stay in LA because they are able to afford it now that they sell Audrey's tooth, and that's pretty much what they get here. And so at the end of the movie, we actually do see that Snoop did survive this all, as he comes out of the sewer and pretty much just blazes one up and is just like, hey, it's LA. So that's pretty much our ending right here for this movie. I think that this movie really sets up for a possible sequel or sequels. Maybe you can have a whole series going on here, because you could really have this turn into a comedic Blade type feel, where these vampire hunters and everything going around trying to figure out what's going on in LA. And I think that the whole aspect of it, just learning about that there were different vampires, even though that wasn't really fully like dived into, could be dived into in a future movie, and maybe that's what they were doing here, not really getting into the nitty gritty of it because they want to save it up for another one. I think with the star power of Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco being this whole like buddy cop team up vibe for it, could definitely set this up for future movies. But we'll just see how this definitely goes with the audience over the weekend. You know, Netflix, some things can go good and they still won't bring it back, and some things can go bad and they'll keep bringing it back. So we'll see what happens. We never know with them. It's just let's wait and hear what they have to say type vibe for it. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. The whole thing with Audrey was she was just trying to get that vampire population up, her daughter, who had been old at this time, had been old because they had never really turned him into a vampire. And just when they turned him into a vampire, that's when Jamie Foxx's Bud decided to kill them. So this was sort of Audrey's whole revenge on Bud, trying to take his ex-wife and his daughter in order to get to him because of what he had done to her daughter. So very much a revenge story, but the vampire in the end got head sliced. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on it, and what do you hope to see now that Snoop is also a vampire. I forgot to mention, it should be interesting to see what happens there. Could this turn into sort of an alliance that we see happen with the vampires and the vampire hunters, or where do we go from here, as they were all part of this vampire hunting group, but now we have Snoop and also Seth as vampires, and Bud's still the vampire hunter. So it sets up different dynamics for us to see in future movies. Let me know what you hope to see in the comments down below. But as always, that's going to do it for me. That was my thoughts and feelings on this movie, and just talking about the ending and what we could possibly see. If you want more videos on all the stuff you love in horror movies, TV shows, all of that, make sure you're subscribed, notification bell on. We are on the road to 25,000 subscribers. We're about to hit 24,000, less than 400 to go. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe below. Check out our review on Bodies, 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 another film that came out in theaters today. It is definitely, I think, the movie of the summer. So go check out that review if you haven't. And if you've already watched Bodies, 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 then go check out our Ending Explain, where we talk about the ending and everything that happened, and just little commentary here and there. We do also have a video on Fall that comes out today in theaters as well, and check out that video as well. That's an Ending Explain for it. And we have some more movie reviews dropping over the weekend, so we got a ton of stuff here for you on the channel, also on our website culturelixir.com. Also TikTok, Twitter is Culture Elixir, so make sure you are following us on all of those for all the different stuff you want. But as always, that's going to do it for us. Make sure you check out the videos on the left at the end. Make sure you're subscribed, notification bell on for that giveaway we're doing at 25,000 subscribers. I'll see you next time. Stay safe. If you made it to the end, really appreciate you. We do have a podcast episode dropping tomorrow, which will be our very first podcast episode. We did the pilot a couple of weeks ago. Definitely check that out as well. But here is the trailer for this podcast. We will be dropping pretty soon. Like I said, tomorrow. It's going to be a horror podcast. It's going to run all the way through October, and we're just going to talk a lot of spooky stuff and all of that. So if you're into that, make sure you're following us. You can catch us on Spotify right now and Buzzsprout, but I'll leave the links for all of that down below. But here's the trailer. Really appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers. So close to that 24,000 mark. But as always, stay safe, stay positive, and enjoy the trailer.